Getting divorced, especially when kids are involved, is a challenge. It's difficult, and there's no reason to make it more difficult if you're trying to qualify for a home loan and you're receiving alimony or child support. So this is what I'm going to talk about today, and I'm actually going to do a different video for each agency. Now, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are what are considered conventional loans. FHA, VA, and USDA are considered government guaranteed, government backed type of loans. Now, the reason why there's so much confusion around this particular topic is because each agency treats the income from alimony and child support a little bit differently. They require a little bit different documentation, a little bit different timelines, so it can be confusing. And the reason why we created this channel at Find My Way Home is we are here to give you a second opinion when an inexperienced or uninformed loan officer gives you the wrong information. And this happens all the time. Maybe a loan officer, maybe you're applying for a mortgage, maybe you're applying for a conventional mortgage, and you don't meet the Fannie Mae guidelines. An inexperienced loan officer could just tell you no instead of looking at the Freddie Mac conventional guidelines, and then maybe even looking at FHA guidelines to see if there's an option there. So this isn't real complicated and it isn't real confusing. So let's kind of go through this. So the single most important thing that the lender or the underwriter are looking at is the income documentation. So in this scenario, this series of videos is assuming that you are the one that's receiving the alimony or the child support. So the income documentation that is going to be required for a conventional Fannie Mae loan is they're going to look for a continuation of receipt. That's documentation to prove that you're going to continue to get that money, a history of receipt. They have to prove that you've received that income for a period of time. And then there's a calculation of that income and how to calculate that income to determine how much of it or what you can use for your debt to income ratios. So the documentation for 3 years of continuation is pretty simple. It should be a copy of a divorce decree with the terms, or it can be a copy of a separation agreement. If you're separated and you do not have a separation agreement, then you cannot use alimony or child support. If you and your ex just had a handshake and they said they're going to do the best they can to pay whatever they can, that's not gonna cut it if you're trying to qualify for a mortgage. So you need some sort of legal documentation stating the terms of the payment, which means how much you're going to receive and for how long you're going to receive it. Also, any other type of written legal agreement or court decree describing the payment term. So it doesn't necessarily or specifically have to be a divorce decree or a separation agreement. It can be a legal agreement or a court decree that's just a legal arrangement that you have that's documented. Documentation that verifies state law that mandates alimony, child support, or separate maintenance payments and conditions under which is paid. That's also a document that you can use. So if you don't have necessarily an arrangement, a legal arrangement, but you can produce state laws that require that you pay alimony or child support, that's something that you can use as well. Obviously, you're still going to have to show that you're receiving it, but the state law that says that you're required to be paid this alimony or child support is sufficient for documentation for continuation. Then history of receipt. So not only do you have to prove that you're going to continue to get this child support or alimony in the future, you have to show that you've been receiving it. Fannie Mae conventional underwriting guidelines are going to require you to have 6 months of consistent payments, and you can document that either through canceled checks or bank statements. That one's pretty simple. Not a big deal. Actually, I went by that real fast. Let's do it again. History of receipt. You have to show that you have received these payments for at least the last 6 months, and you need to document that. Canceled checks or bank statements are going to be the best way to document that. Then the calculation of income. So the first thing you want to do is you want to determine the taxable status of your eligible support payments. So alimony and child support are typically non-taxable to you, the recipient. If that's the case, and I am not an attorney, I recommend that you well, you don't need an attorney, you need a CPA, a CPA or an accountant. And so check with your CPA or your accountant to determine, but most times there are not taxes. You're not taxed on alimony and child support as income. And if that's the case, you can multiply that dollar amount by 125%. So basically you're adding 25% on top of the payments that you're receiving. And that's the dollar amount that you're going to be able to use to qualify or towards your debt to income ratio for qualifying for a home mortgage. So that's really important to understand and to figure out. Again, this is one of those things that if you're working with an inexperienced loan officer and they're not giving you that extra, they're not grossing it up. That's what we call it, grossing it up. If it's non-taxable income, we can gross it up. The same thing with some disability payments, some Social Security income. If it's not taxable income according to your CPA or your financial advisor, then it can be grossed up by 125% and you can use that larger amount. That's a huge, huge benefit. Now, again, if you're working with an inexperienced loan officer and they don't know that, and if they can get you approved for the loan, but they don't know that they can gross it up. See, there's a lot of different moving parts, and it's so important that you work with an experienced mortgage professional because they're not going to know everything, but they're going to know where to go to get the information. They're going to know how to look up the guidelines. They're going to know how to research your options, and they're going to know how to present you with all of your options. If you don't qualify under Fannie Mae's guidelines, they're going to present you with Freddie Mac and FHA, and if you're eligible, VA or USDA. So it's really, really important. And that's another reason why I do these videos, is because I've been doing this for a really, really long time. All of the mortgage experts that are on the Find My Way Home Expert Network, they've been doing this for a really, really long time. We consider ourselves guideline geeks and we love to help. We hate to say no. We like to figure out these problems. So if your loan officer sounds different than the way that I'm talking about this topic, I recommend you reach out to us to get a second opinion. That's really easy to do. You can go to findmywayhome.com. There is a link down in the description, and you can either scroll to the bottom and click on a state and find an expert that's near you, or there's a form on there that you can just let me know what your main question or concern is about qualifying for a mortgage, and I'll match you with a mortgage professional on our network that we know and trust. So I hope this is helpful. Again, if you don't meet one of these guidelines, look at the Freddie Mac video. If you don't qualify for either the Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, look at FHA. VA and USDA, there has to be certain circumstances in order for you to qualify for those, but your Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and FHA are going to be available to any consumer. So if this is you and you're in this situation, I hope this is helpful. Again, ask me questions if you have questions below, or you can go to the website and you can find somebody to help. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.